Captain Benjamin Elias stared at the official transmission glowing on his screen. He read it 3 times to be sure he understood. Earth had been invited to send a representative to the Galactic Council, the very same council that had ignored humanity's signals for over 2 centuries. "This has to be a mistake," he muttered, running a hand through his short brown hair. The message was addressed specifically to him as commander of the Earth Defense Fleet's flagship Intrepid, not to the president of the United Earth Alliance, not to the admiral of the fleet, but to him. Captain Benjamin Elias, age 42, with 15 years of Space Command experience and a reputation for solving impossible problems. A knock at his office door interrupted his thoughts. Commander Alexandra Flynn entered when he called out. She was his second-in-command and closest friend aboard the Intrepid. "Is it true?" she asked, her blue eyes wide with curiosity. "The crew is buzzing with rumors about the council." Elias nodded and turned his screen so she could see. "They want me at Centauri Prime in 10 days, just me and a small team." Flynn frowned as she scanned the message. "This smells like trouble, Ben. The council has pretended we don't exist since we developed faster-than-light travel. Why the sudden interest?" "My thoughts exactly." Elias stood and walked to the viewport of his office. The curved blue edge of Earth filled half the view, beautiful and seemingly peaceful from orbit. "Command confirms the transmission is genuine. They're scrambling to put together briefing packets and diplomatic protocols." "Are we really going to send you?" Flynn asked. "To a place where most species still consider humans barely more than clever animals?" Elias smiled grimly. "Orders are orders. The Intrepid sets course for Centauri Prime in 6 hours. Later that evening, as the ship's engines hummed with pre-jump preparations, Elias sat in the quiet of his quarters reviewing everything Earth knew about the Galactic Council. It wasn't much. The council consisted of representatives from over 200 spacefaring civilizations, dominated by the 7 elder races who had been traveling between stars when humans were still learning to make fire. His communication screen blinked with an incoming message from Dr. Olivia Marshall, the ship's xenobiologist who would be joining his diplomatic team. "Captain, I've been analyzing some strange transmissions we intercepted last month," she said without preamble. "I think they're talking about us, about humans." "What kind of transmissions?" Elias asked, suddenly alert. "Communications between council members. They're using code terms, but the pattern is clear. Some of them are afraid of us, Captain." "Afraid? Of humans?" Elias almost laughed. Earth's technology was impressive by human standards, but primitive compared to the elder races. "Why would they fear us?" "That's the interesting part," Dr. Marshall continued. "They keep referring to our unprecedented advancement rate. One message specifically mentions that we've accomplished in 2 centuries what took most species 2 millennia. Elias absorbed this information silently. It explained some things, but raised more questions. If the council feared human potential, why invite them in now? The ship's intercom interrupted his thoughts. "Captain, to the bridge. Final preparations for departure are complete." As Elias walked the corridors of the Intrepid toward the bridge, crew members nodded respectfully or saluted. Many looked nervous. This mission carried the weight of humanity's future on its shoulders. Commander Flynn was waiting on the bridge, the main view screen showing Earth growing smaller as they moved to jump position. "All systems go, Captain," she reported. "Course laid in for Centauri Prime." Elias took his command chair and looked at the faces of his bridge crew. They were the best Earth had to offer, and they would need to be. Something told him this council invitation was the beginning of something much bigger than a simple diplomatic meeting. "Engage FTL drive," he ordered. "Let's go make history." The stars on the view screen stretched into lines of light as the Intrepid jumped to faster-than-light speed, carrying Captain Elias toward a destiny that would set the galaxy on fire. The Intrepid dropped out of faster-than-light travel with a gentle shudder. Captain Elias stood from his command chair as the massive structure of Centauri Prime filled the view screen. The space station was enormous, a spinning wheel of metal, and light that housed the Galactic Council and diplomatic representatives from 200 spacefaring civilizations. "Magnify," Elias ordered. and the image zoomed in to show countless ships of various designs docked along the station's outer ring. "We're being hailed," reported Communications Officer Greg Peters. "They're sending docking instructions." Elias nodded. "Take us in, Lieutenant Russell. Nice and steady. We're representing Earth today." As the Intrepid approached its assigned berth, Elias gathered his diplomatic team in the conference room. Dr. Olivia Marshall adjusted her uniform nervously, while Lieutenant Kevin Donovan, head of security, looked calm but alert. "Remember," Elias said, "we know very little about Council protocol. Our goal is to listen, learn, and represent humanity with dignity. Let's not give them any reason to regret inviting us." The team boarded a shuttle and docked at one of Centauri Prime's many airlocks. When the doors slid open, they were met by a delegation of 3 aliens. The tallest was blue-skinned with 4 arms and wore elaborate robes. Next to it stood a short, furry being with large eyes. The third looked almost human except for the silver scales covering its skin. "Captain Benjamin Elias of Earth," the blue alien said in perfect English. "I am Protocol Officer Zenith. Welcome to Centauri Prime." The delegation led them through wide corridors filled with beings of every imaginable shape and size. Some stopped to stare at the humans. Others whispered to companions. Not all the looks were friendly. "You are the first humans to visit the Council in an official capacity," Zenith explained as they walked. "Your quarters have been prepared in the diplomatic wing. The Council session begins tomorrow. Tonight there is a reception for all representatives." The reception was held in a massive hall with a transparent ceiling showing the stars above. Hundreds of aliens mingled, drinking colorful liquids and eating strange foods. Elias and his team stayed together, accepting drinks that Dr. Marshall confirmed were safe for human consumption. A tall, elegant alien with feathered crests approached them. "Captain Elias, I am Ambassador Xyler of the Arcturian Confederation. It is an honor to meet you." Elias bowed slightly. "The honor is ours, Ambassador. We have much to learn about galactic diplomacy." Xyler leaned closer. "A word of advice, Captain. Your invitation to the Council was not unanimously approved. Some see humanity as a threat, others see an opportunity. Few see you as equals." "Why tell me this?" Elias asked. "Because the Arcturians remember when we were the newcomers," Xyler replied. "And because balance is needed in the galaxy." Before Elias could ask more questions, a commotion erupted nearby. A reptilian alien with red scales was arguing loudly with another species. "The humans should not be here," the reptilian shouted in a language Elias's translator rendered into English. "They are dangerous primitives who will upset the balance of power." The reptilian noticed Elias watching and stalked over, towering above the human captain. "You," it hissed. "Your kind develops too quickly. You went from atmosphere to faster than light in less than 3 centuries. Such progress is unnatural." The room grew quiet. All eyes turned to watch the confrontation. Elias felt the weight of humanity's future on his shoulders. "Ambassador Drex," Elias said calmly, recognizing the reptilian species from his briefings. "On my world, we have a saying. The flame that burns twice as bright burns half as long. Perhaps we humans simply burn brighter." Elias raised his glass, in a toast, then added in perfect draconian, "May your scales never dull, honored elder." Ambassador Drex's eyes widened in surprise at hearing his native tongue. After a moment of tense silence, he gave a reluctant nod of respect and moved away. Xyler watched with interest. "Impressive, Captain Elias. Few outsiders bother to learn draconian formal address." Elias sipped his drink. "Tomorrow I enter the council chamber. I intend to be prepared." What he didn't say was that he felt increasingly certain that Earth's invitation was not the honor it appeared to be. Something else was happening here, and he needed to discover what, before it was too late. Morning came quickly on Centauri Prime, where the station's artificial day-night cycle lasted only 20 hours. Captain Elias adjusted his formal uniform one last time before meeting his team in the corridor. "How do I look?" he asked Commander Flynn, who would accompany him into the council chamber while Dr. Marshall and Lieutenant Donovan monitored from their quarters. Like someone about to make history, Flynn replied with a small smile. For better or worse, Protocol Officer Zenith arrived to escort them to the council chamber. As they walked through increasingly grand corridors, Elias noticed more security personnel, beings of various species carrying weapons that looked capable of vaporizing a human in seconds. The chamber has stood for 10,000 years, Zenith explained. It has witnessed the rise and fall of empires, the birth and death of stars. Today it witnesses humanity's formal introduction to galactic society. The doors to the chamber swung open. Elias took a deep breath and stepped forward. The council chamber was magnificent. A vast amphitheater stretched out before him, with concentric rings of seats rising up to the distant ceiling. Thousands of representatives from across the galaxy filled the seats, their bodies representing every possible evolutionary path. Some floated in special tanks. Others required environmental suits. The variety was stunning. At the highest point sat 7 ornate thrones, each occupied by a member of the elder races. Above them all, an enormous holographic display showed the galaxy slowly rotating. The human representative may approach, announced, a melodious voice that seemed to come from everywhere at once. Elias walked forward to the central platform. The weight of countless alien eyes pressed down on him. He stood tall, shoulders back, chin up, the picture of human dignity and confidence. I am Supreme Counselor Varix of the Tholian Collective, said the leftmost elder, a being of shimmering crystal and light. Captain Benjamin Elias of Earth, you have been summoned to address concerns regarding your species' activities. Elias frowned. I was under the impression this was a diplomatic introduction, Supreme Counselor. Murmurs rippled through the chamber. Varix's crystalline form pulsed with colored light. Introductions have their place, but the Council has more pressing matters to discuss. You may speak. Sensing the shift in tone, Elias decided to abandon his prepared remarks. Instead, he looked around the chamber slowly, making eye contact with as many representatives as possible. Members of the Galactic Council, I stand before you not just as a captain or a diplomat, but as a voice for humanity. For centuries, we sent signals to the stars, hoping for a response. We built ships to explore our solar system, then to reach nearby stars. Through all this, the Council watched in silence. Elias paused, letting his words sink in. Yet, here we are. Humans have persisted. We have overcome war, climate disaster, and resource scarcity. We have united our planet and reached for the stars, not because it was easy, but because it is in our nature to explore, to connect, to grow. We do not come as conquerors or as beggars, but as equals ready to join the galactic community. The idea chamber remained quiet, but Elias could feel the energy in the room shifting. Some representatives leaned forward with interest. Others consulted with neighbors. A pretty speech, said another elder, a massive being with tentacles and multiple eyes, but it does not address why we have summoned you, Captain Elias. Then perhaps you should tell me why I'm really here, Elias replied firmly. Varix's crystal form darkened. Very well. Earth stands accused of developing forbidden void technology, weapons capable of collapsing space-time itself. Such technology has been banned across the galaxy for millennia. Shocked whispers erupted throughout the chamber. Elias stood frozen, genuinely confused. That's impossible, he finally said. Earth possesses no such technology. Our scientific capabilities nowhere near approach. We have evidence, interrupted the third elder, a being shrouded in mist. The Council votes to dispatch investigators to your homeworld immediately. If the accusations prove true, Earth will face sanctions. If they prove false, we will welcome humanity properly. Elias glanced at Flynn, whose expression mirrored his own concern. This wasn't a diplomatic meeting. It was the beginning of a trial. The human representative is dismissed until tomorrow's session, Varix announced. This matter will continue, then. As Elias left the chamber, he heard the heated debates begin behind him. Earth was in danger, and he still didn't understand why. Back aboard the Intrepid, Captain Elias called an emergency meeting with his team. They gathered in his private quarters rather than the more public conference room, aware that the station might be monitoring them. Void technology? Dr. Marshall shook her head in disbelief. Captain, Earth has nothing remotely like that. Our most advanced theoretical physics labs are still trying to understand basic quantum gravity. I know, Elias said, pacing the room. This accusation makes no sense. Why would they claim we have weapons we don't have? Commander Flynn leaned forward. To justify action against us. If they find this technology on Earth, they have reason to place restrictions on humanity or worse. Lieutenant Donovan, who had been quiet until now, spoke up. Sir, we were followed back to our quarters. 3 different beings taking turns. They're watching us closely. Elias stopped pacing. Then we need to be careful. Dr. Marshall, I want you to access any public council records you can. Find out if they've done this before to other species. Yes, Captain. Flynn, reach out to Ambassador Zyler. See what the Arcturians know about this void technology. And me, sir? Donovan asked. Double security on all our communications and be ready for trouble. I don't think we're as welcome here as we first thought. The team dispersed to their tasks, leaving Elias alone with his thoughts. Hours later, a soft chime at his door announced Dr. Marshall's return. Her face was flushed with excitement. Captain, I found something, she said, activating her tablet. I was digging through public archives when I discovered encrypted data hidden within regular transmissions. It took some work, but I managed to partially decode it. She displayed a series of complex diagrams. These are technical specifications for something called a void collapse initiator. But here's the strange part. The quantum signatures embedded in these designs have traces of elder race energy patterns. Are you saying the elder races are developing the very technology they're accusing us of building? Elias asked. It appears so. And there's more. She swiped to another screen. I found communications discussing a containment strategy for emerging threats. The dates align with humanity's development of faster-than-light travel. A soft knock interrupted them. Flynn entered with Ambassador Zylar close behind. Forgive the unexpected visit, Zylar said. But time is short. I've taken precautions against surveillance. The feathered alien activated a small device that emitted a low hum. This will scramble any listening technology. Captain, you are in grave danger. Several elder races fear humanity's potential. Your species adapts too quickly, innovates too rapidly. They worry that in a few centuries humans might challenge their dominance. So they invented these accusations? Elias asked. Not entirely invented, Zylar replied. Void technology exists, but it is possessed by certain elder races, not humans. They plan to plant evidence on Earth, then discover it during their investigation. Dr. Marshall showed Zylar her findings. The Arcturian studied them with widening eyes. This confirms our suspicions. The Arcturian Confederation has long believed the power balance in the Council is corrupted, but we lacked proof. The door chimed. Again. Lieutenant Donovan rushed in. Captain, we just intercepted and neutralized an intruder trying to access our ship systems. They were planting something in our database, fabricated research on void technology. Elias's face hardened. They're already setting us up. There's more, Donovan continued. While securing the prisoner, we received an anonymous message. It was sent on a frequency only Earth ships use. He handed Elias a data chip. Elias plugged it into his tablet. A simple text message appeared. Evidence of conspiracy in Section 12, maintenance level. Come alone. A friend. It's obviously a trap, Flynn said. Maybe, Elias replied. Or maybe someone inside the Council disagrees with this plan against Earth. He turned to Zylar. What's in Section 12? Restricted storage facilities, few have access. Elias made his decision. Then that's where we need to go. If there's evidence that can clear Earth, we need to find it before the investigation team reaches our planet. I'll assemble a security team, Donovan said. No, Elias replied. Too many would attract attention. Just you, me, and Flynn. Small team, quick movement. He looked at his officers. We leave in 1 hour. The fate of Earth may depend on what we find there. Captain Elias, Commander Flynn, and Lieutenant Donovan moved through the dimly lit maintenance corridors of Centauri Prime. They wore plain gray maintenance uniforms provided by Ambassador Zyler. The disguises helped them blend in with the station's service personnel. Section 12 should be around the next corner, Flynn whispered, following the small holographic map Zylar had given them. Donovan went first, hand resting near his concealed weapon. The corridors were mostly empty. Maintenance areas weren't popular places for diplomats to visit. They reached a sealed door marked with alien symbols. Flynn scanned them with her translator. Restricted access. Engineering storage, she read. And something about danger or hazard. Donovan examined the security panel. Standard lock. The access code from our anonymous friend should work. He entered a sequence of numbers. The door slid open with a soft hiss. Inside was a large, warehouse-like room filled with containers and equipment. The lighting was dim and blue-tinted, giving everything an eerie glow. Spread out, Elias ordered. Look for anything related to void technology. We have 20 minutes before the shift change when more workers will arrive. They moved carefully between tall shelves of equipment. Most items were labeled in multiple alien languages, but none seemed related to weapons. Flynn's voice came through their earpieces. Captain, I think I found something. Northwest corner, behind the power regulators. Elias and Donovan made their way to her position. Flynn stood before a sealed room with a transparent wall. Inside were several devices that looked like metallic spheres with complex patterns on their surfaces. These matched the designs from the encrypted files, Flynn said. And look. She pointed to symbols engraved on the base of each sphere. Those are elder race markers, specifically Tholian. Elias studied the devices. So the technology does exist, but it belongs to the elder races, not humans. There's more, Donovan said, examining a nearby computer terminal. These are shipping manifests. 3 of these devices were sent to a vessel called the Arbitrator. That's the ship heading to Earth for the investigation. The pieces clicked together in Elias's mind. They're planning to plant these on Earth as evidence, then discover them during their investigation. We need to document everything, Flynn said. She began recording the room with her small camera, while Donovan downloaded data from the terminal. A sudden alarm blared through the storage facility. Red lights flashed along the walls. We've been detected, Donovan warned, drawing his weapon. Grab what you can, Elias ordered. We need to get back to the ship. They hurried toward the exit, but the door slid shut before they reached it. From a side entrance, 4 security guards appeared, 2 reptilian draconians and 2 crystalline tholians. Intruders in Section 12. One guard spoke into a communicator. Humans from the Earth delegation. We can explain, Elias began, raising his hands slowly. Silence, the Tholian guard commanded. You have accessed restricted areas. You will be detained and questioned. Donovan moved suddenly, throwing a small device toward the guards. It exploded in a flash of blinding light. Now, he shouted. Flynn hit an emergency panel on the wall, triggering the fire suppression system. Fog filled the room, providing cover as they ran for a service exit Zylar had marked on their map. Shouts and the sound of weapons firing followed them as they raced through maintenance tunnels. Donovan took a grazing hit to his shoulder but kept running. We need to get back to the Intrepid, Elias said as they reached a junction. They'll be looking for us now. If we return directly, they'll just arrest us there, Flynn pointed out. We need to contact Dr. Marshall first. Have her prepare the ship for immediate departure. Elias nodded. He activated his secure communicator. Marshall, this is Elias. Prepare the Intrepid for emergency launch. Priority code Alpha 9. What about the evidence? Donovan asked, pressing a hand to his injured shoulder. We got enough, Elias replied, holding up the small data drive Flynn had filled. And we're the witnesses. Once we're safely away, we have a decision to make. What decision? Flynn asked as they continued moving through the tunnels. Elias's face was grim in the dim light. Whether to run and warn Earth, or to go back to the Council with what we've found and confront them directly. The sound of pursuit grew louder, behind them. The fire that Captain Elias would soon set in the galaxy had sparked its first flames. The Intrepid hummed with tension as Captain Elias stood on the bridge. Station security forces had surrounded the ship, demanding the humans surrender for questioning. So far, Earth diplomatic status had prevented them from boarding. But that wouldn't last long. "All systems ready, Captain," Commander Flynn reported. "We can break dock and jump to FTL in 90 seconds. Dr. Marshall entered the bridge. "Lieutenant Donovan's wound is treated. He'll be fine." Elias nodded but remained silent, deep in thought. The evidence they had gathered was damning. Proof that certain elder races planned to frame Earth for possessing forbidden technology. Running would protect them but leave Earth vulnerable. Staying meant almost certain arrest. "You've made your decision, haven't you?" Flynn asked quietly. "I have." Elias straightened his uniform. "We're not running." "Sir?" Several bridge officers turned in surprise. "If we flee, we look guilty. They'll say we stole void technology and escaped. Earth will still face sanctions or worse." Elias's voice grew stronger. "No, we're going back to the council chamber. We're going to show everyone exactly what the elder races are doing." "That's extremely dangerous," Dr. Marshall warned. "The council is controlled by the elders." "Not completely," Elias countered. "Remember how many representatives showed interest when I spoke? Many species have likely been manipulated by the elders before. This might be bigger than just Earth." Flynn stepped closer. "What's your plan?" "We use Ambassador Zyler's help to get back into the chamber during the emergency session they've surely called. Then we broadcast our evidence to every representative simultaneously." Elias looked around at his crew. "I won't order anyone to join me. This could end badly." The bridge fell silent. Then Flynn spoke. "I'm with you, Captain." One by one, the other officers nodded their agreement. "Good," Elias said. "Because I think we're about to make galactic history, one way or another." 2 hours later, Elias stood in a service corridor outside the council chamber with Flynn and Ambassador Zyler. The Arcturian had helped them navigate past security checkpoints using maintenance passages. "The chamber is full," Zyler reported, after checking a monitoring device. "The elders have called an emergency session regarding the human threat. They're claiming you stole classified technology." "Perfect timing." Elias checked the small device Dr. Marshall had prepared. It would connect to the chamber's communication system and broadcast their evidence to all representatives' personal devices simultaneously. "Once we enter, there's no turning back," Flynn reminded him. "Earth is counting on us," Elias replied. He straightened his shoulders. "Let's go." Zyler led them to a small service entrance. As the door opened, they heard Supreme Counselor Varix addressing the gathered representatives. "Dangerous actions by the humans prove their aggressive intentions. The investigation fleet will proceed to Earth with increased security. We recommend temporary isolation of the Sol system until..." Captain Elias strode into the chamber, Flynn at his side. Gasps and shouts erupted as representatives recognized the humans who were supposed to be confined to their ship. "Lies!" Elias's voice boomed across the chamber. "The council deserves to know the truth." Security personnel moved toward them, but Elias was already activating Marshall's device. Instantly, thousands of personal communication devices throughout. The chamber lit up with images and data. The void technology in Tholian storage, the shipping manifest to the investigation fleet, the encrypted communications about containing Earth. "Members of the Galactic Council," Elias called out as chaos erupted. "You are being deceived. There is no human void technology. The elder races themselves developed these weapons and plan to plant them on Earth as evidence." The chamber dissolved into shouting and confusion. Some representatives demanded explanations from the elders. Others called for the humans' arrest. Supreme Counselor Varix's crystalline form pulsed with angry red light. "This is fabricated evidence. Security, remove the humans immediately." As Tholian guards moved forward, something unexpected happened. Representatives from a dozen worlds stood and moved to stand between the humans and the approaching security forces. "We demand investigation of these accusations," called a representative Elias recognized as Neri of the Pleiadian Alliance. "If the elders have violated council law, all member worlds must know." More representatives joined them, forming a protective barrier around Elias and Flynn. The chamber was splitting into factions before their eyes. "You have no authority," Varix began, but his words were drowned out by the growing number of representatives, demanding answers. Elias turned to Flynn with a grim smile. "I think we just lit the match." The next 12 hours transformed Centauri Prime from a center of diplomacy into a battleground. What began as a confrontation in the council chamber spread throughout the station like wildfire. Captain Elias found himself at the center of a galactic revolution. "3 more species have declared support for our position," Commander Flynn reported as she entered the secure room where Elias had established a temporary command post. "The Arcturians have offered their ships as protection for the Intrepid." Elias looked up from the tactical display. After escaping the council chamber, they had taken shelter in a section of the station controlled by races sympathetic to their cause. Representatives from dozens of worlds had reached out, many sharing stories of elder race manipulation against their own planets. "What about the Tholian fleet?" Elias asked. "Still 6 hours away," Flynn replied. "But when they arrive, they'll have enough firepower to end this standoff quickly." Dr. Marshall entered, looking exhausted but excited. "Captain, our broadcast did more than we expected. Worlds across the galaxy are receiving the evidence. There are reports of protests on 20 major planets. Many civilizations have suffered under elder race restrictions for centuries. They see this as their chance for change." Elias rubbed his tired eyes. What had started as a mission to represent Earth had become something much larger. The revelation of the elder race's conspiracy had ignited long simmering resentments throughout the galaxy. A communication alert sounded. Lieutenant Donovan, his shoulder bandaged but back on duty, answered. "Captain, it's Ambassador Neri of the Pleiadian Alliance. She's calling for you specifically." Elias activated the screen. The elegant blue-skinned ambassador appeared. "Captain Elias, the situation has escalated. The Draconians have seized control of the station's main power core on behalf of the elder races. They're threatening to shut down life support in sections supporting you if you don't surrender. That would kill thousands of innocent representatives," Elias said in shock. "Yes, they're desperate to regain control." Neri's expression was grim. "We need someone to lead a team to secure the auxiliary control room. From there, we can override their commands." Elias looked at Flynn, who nodded. "We'll handle it," he told Neri. "Send me the access codes and schematics." After the call ended, Elias gathered a small team, Flynn, Donovan, and several security officers from allied species who knew the station's layout. They moved through maintenance tunnels, avoiding the main corridors where fighting had broken out between security forces and protesters. "I never imagined we'd start a galactic civil war," Flynn said quietly as they crawled through a narrow passage. "We didn't start it," Elias replied. "We just exposed the truth. These tensions have been building for centuries." They reached the access point to the auxiliary control room. 2 Draconian guards stood watch. Donovan signaled to their allies, a pair of massive, furry beings from the Rigel system. The aliens moved with surprising speed, neutralizing the guards before they could sound an alarm. Inside the control room, Elias and Flynn worked quickly to override the commands from the main power core. Station schematics flashed across their screens as they restored power to threatened sections and secured life support systems. "We've done it," Flynn announced. "Life support is stable and locked. They can't shut it down remotely now." Elias nodded with relief. "Good. Now let's see what else we can do from here." He accessed the station's communication system. "This is Captain Benjamin Elias of Earth broadcasting to all of Centauri Prime. The elder races have attempted to shut down life support to punish those who stand for truth. We have prevented this atrocity. To all representatives, the evidence we presented is real. For too long, the elder races have maintained power by keeping younger species divided and controlled. Today, we stand together. His message echoed throughout the station. In response, cheers erupted from many sections. More ships arrived, vessels from worlds that had suffered under elder race restrictions, coming to support the growing rebellion. When the Tholian fleet arrived, they found not a small human ship to intimidate, but a coalition of vessels from 30 different worlds, all broadcasting the same message. The time of elder race dominance was over. Captain Elias had not just entered the council chamber, he had changed the power structure of the galaxy forever, and the fire he had ignited continued to spread across the stars. 3 months passed. The galaxy had changed more in that short time than in the previous 1,000 years. Captain Benjamin Elias stood once again before the doors of the council chamber, but everything was different now. The chamber had been rebuilt after the battle that had raged through Centauri Prime. Gone were the rising tiers that had placed the elder races physically above all others. In their place was a circular arrangement where all representatives sat at the same level. "Ready, Captain?" Commander Flynn asked, standing beside him in a freshly pressed uniform. "As ready as I'll ever be," Elias replied. The weight of recent events hung heavy on his shoulders. The conflict that began in the council chamber had spread to a dozen star systems before a ceasefire was negotiated. Thousands had died, but millions more had gained freedom from elder race control. The doors swung open. Together, Elias and Flynn walked into the chamber, where representatives from across the galaxy had gathered for the signing of the new galactic charter. As they entered, the room fell silent. Then slowly, representatives began to stand. The gesture spread until every being in the chamber was on their feet, appendages, or hover platforms. A wave of respectful applause filled the room. Elias nodded in acknowledgement, humbled by the response. He took his seat, Earth's first permanent seat on the Galactic Council. Ambassador Neri of the Pleiadian Alliance called the session to order. "Today marks a new beginning for our galaxy. The charter before us establishes equal representation for all spacefaring civilizations, protection for developing worlds, and safeguards against the kind of power abuse we have witnessed." She nodded toward Elias. None of this would have been possible without the courage of Captain Benjamin Elias and the crew of the Earthship Intrepid. They showed us that even the youngest species can stand for truth and justice. More applause filled the chamber. Elias glanced around, noting the absence of several elder race representatives. The Tholians had withdrawn from the council entirely, retreating to their core systems. The Draconians remained, but with reduced influence. Other elders had chosen different paths, some embracing change, others resisting it. The signing ceremony proceeded with representatives from 200 worlds adding their marks to the new charter. When it was Earth's turn, Elias approached. "The document. On behalf of Earth and humanity, I commit to this new path forward," he said, signing his name. "We came to the stars hoping to find friends and allies. Instead, we found a system that needed change. I am honored that humanity could play a part in building a more just galaxy." Later, as representatives mingled during a reception, Elias stood by a viewport looking out at the stars. Ambassador Xyler joined him. "Deep thoughts, Captain Elias?" "Just reflecting on how quickly things change," Elias replied. 3 months ago, I was worried about making a good impression at a diplomatic meeting. Now look at us." Xylar's feathered crest rippled, and what Elias had learned was a sign of amusement. That is often how history works. Great changes come not from those who seek to change everything, but from those who simply stand firm for what is right when the moment demands. Elias nodded. "And what happens now?" "Now the real work begins," Xylar said. "Building is always harder than breaking. The new council will face challenges as we learn to work together as equals." "Earth will do its part," Elias promised. "I know it will." Xylar gestured to the gathered representatives. "Many worlds look to humanity now, not because you are the strongest or wisest species, but because you showed that even the youngest civilization can have the courage to speak truth to power." Commander Flynn approached carrying a message. Captain, we've received new orders. The Intrepid is to return to Earth for a refit, then lead a diplomatic mission to systems still hesitant about joining the new council. Elias smiled. Back to work then. As he prepared to leave the reception, many representatives approached to shake his hand or offer their species equivalent gestures of respect. From reluctant guest to respected leader, his journey had been remarkable. Captain Benjamin. Elias had entered the council chamber and set the galaxy on fire. But from those flames, a new and better order had been born.